And I just remembered this place as of the canal and a village, and we visited here we looked at a house back in the day, some 2003, 2002 or something like that, and we viewed a house on Boxing Day, did a drive-by on Boxing Day.
We saw it on Boxing Day, which was really...
Didn't visit it,
really
we did a drive-by. No kids at that time, 2 incomes, thinking, I know this place, I know roughly where it is from my childhood, and the rest is history, really. And I think what we wanted to do was to make a family home with our new family.
Well, this developer, I think it's worthwhile saying, had planning permission to turn this into 3 properties, and there was a big road down here, and it was a very different layout. And we thought, nah, that's not right. And we were lucky enough to be able to buy it, weren't we?
Only then, we didn't fully appreciate what we were entering into at all. But what we, as concluded in what we've done, is sort of enhanced and enriched what is the community.
Well, we hope we have. So one of the things we had to do as part of the package was we had to agree to build the road, didn't we? All right, we've got services and infrastructure coming through, but we had to make good the road, which we continue to maintain, don't we? And
it was an old gravel track, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a dirt track.
We noticed it when we arrived. It was derelict. It was the derelict farmhouse. It'd been derelict for 15 years, probably 20 years. What we do as our professional careers, saw the opportunity. Next to neighbour Dave, he sort of said, "Look, we'll do it together." So we helped him design his house with him.
And he helped with us, the costings and so on.
We designed ours ourselves. He sort of did the financial sort of appraisal for us, but we were responsible to bring it all together. So we brought the whole sort of master plan together. We took on board a challenge that was there empty for a long time. We saw with what we do what it could be, because we're visionary people, and people now, or hopefully we've done the village proud in what we've done. We've enriched it, we've added a benefit to it. And I think only when we moved in and when we were doing what we were doing, people started to talk to us about Tom Mellor, and we didn't know Tom at all. We just understood that he left a complete legacy with him, and people did stop us and say, because we didn't know about him and we wanted to know more about him. We knew he was in the farmhouse, this was the Barnes. We thought it was only right that we would name this Mellor Barn after Tom Mellor to pay homage to him.
Then one Sunday afternoon we had a call from, I think it was Dave. I think Dave had come to site, and the whole floor had collapsed. Now the first floor up there had been bricked up, and we were always worried that there was going to be something really unsavoury in that room. Why would you brick it up? What's in there, sort of thing? And we knew we'd have to go in eventually, but the whole floor collapsed, and I am forever grateful that it was a Sunday. Well, I think to be fair, I think this is true to say, if you were sort of not in the building trade like we are, you'd probably be terrified and think, no, I'm not touching it. But I think one of the things we could see was the potential, and we were like, great, fantastic. The kids were like, okay, We do as a profession, we're sort of conditioned to see the opportunity and see beyond the initial shock. I remember bringing my business partner here. We were going up the A38 somewhere north to see a client, and we diverted to here, and I said, look, we've been embarking on this venture, park down the bottom of the thing, and he said, you must be on the luff. It was terrible, honestly, Pete. It was a nightmare, because we'd both got different ideas. And I think in those days, we met in a practice years ago, 20 odd years ago, 22, however many, and we fought then. Anyway, we got together, and we vowed we wouldn't work together again, and that worked out until we bought this place. And I think basically we worked up the scheme. I then left my job in Birmingham for various reasons, but largely I could manage this on a daily basis, because coming back at night, seeing it in the dark, is difficult, and we were snagging all the time.
And I think during the process, we had to acknowledge that there were some elements that was turned out
Give and
better than
take.
others.
So did you split it up into sections and you'd have autonomy over a particular area?
No, we agreed everything, didn't we? We agreed everything to every last thing. We got to an agreement, and I think that's the only way we were going to. I don't think there was anything major. I mean, there were loads of exciting things, like when the trusses were craned in. Do you remember the crane guy who turned up?
I remember it all being a nightmare.
And cranes are really expensive, especially with, an operative, and this guy was cheap as chips, came with no helmet, and we're like, what are we doing here? And we all stood at the eaves on the roof as they were loading the trusses on, and that was fantastic. That day was, got all of the trusses, thinking these are not, if they pop them on, they're not going to hold, it's going to collapse, come down like a house of cards, and it didn't. And that's a really fond memory of the skill of the contractors and the crane guy. I love that. His view, and I hold this view, when you've got a traditional building, the best way to complement it is to put something contemporary next to it, because you can age it then. And I always say this, they don't want a pastiche. It doesn't need to pretend to be 18th century. It needs to highlight it.
And what do you think Tom would think about it?
I don't know, I do think that. We do think
You'd
that.
probably say, where do I put my ladies?
He probably.
I don't know.
I don't know what you think.
Legacy for us is not only what we've done here for us, our kids, changing bit of the contours, the landscape of the village, adding to it hopefully, but also sort of using that sort of skill-based profession that we've got to then instill some of that to some of the other people that we know near and dear.
Plus as well, we've met people in the villages that have been here, even if it's just locally, just people, taking an interest, and that's great. And there have been some lovely people, lovely comments, and people have been fabulous.
And like all villages need to move on with the time, and they just leave that footprint of history on it, and then there we become the next custodians of the villages, and we leave our imprint, and it then goes on and on and on, really.
Yeah.
And